Good evening, everyone, and happy 2020. This is our very first special Live 45 of the year, and I'm super excited to welcome our American Dental Association president, Dr. Daniel Klemmedson, live on here to talk about the year, to talk about what's going on in the world, and of course, hopefully, answer some of your questions at the end. My co host for the evening is Dr. Gerald Carr, the current president of the International College of Dentists USA section. We will be monitoring questions that are posted live on Facebook. Again, this is, of course, streaming live on the International College of Dentists USA section Facebook page. If you think of anything you'd like us to answer, please drop it in the comments section and we will try to get to them. I'll also be asking Dr. Klemmedson for some contact information. So if you have something that you think of later, you can always reach out to him directly. He's very accessible. And we love to know who's watching us. So drop a comment and say hello. Doesn't need to be a question, but we like to say hi and we'll definitely acknowledge everyone that we can. So I'm going to get started. Dr. Klemmedson, thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
Dr. Klemmedson is an oral and maxillofacial surgeon in Tucson, Arizona, and is president of the American Dental Association. From 2015 to 2019, Dr. Klemmedson served as the 14th district trustee to the ADA Board of Trustees and served in the ADA House of Delegates from 2004 to 2014. He is a past president of the Arizona Dental Association, the Southern Arizona Dental Society, the Western Society of Oral and Maxillofacial Surgeons, and the Arizona Society of Oral and Maxillofacial Surgeons. During Dr. Klemmensen's career, he has received numerous awards for his dedicated service. Dr. Klemmedson earned his dental degree from the University of Southern California, USC School of Dentistry, and his medical degree at the USC School of Medicine. In addition to maintaining a private practice in Tucson, he is an attending oral and maxillofacial surgeon on the cleft palate and craniofacial team at children's clinics. Thank you again for being here. We love Arizona. We have so many great friends out there, Dr. Kessler, Kevin Earl, and of course you. Thank you again for being here.
Well, it's a great pleasure, and I look forward to a nice conversation.
And with me is Dr. Gerald Carr, who is the 2021 president of the USA section of the International College of Dentists. Dr. Carr has been a fellow in the ICD over 25 years and is also a fellow of the ACD and the Pierre Fauchard Academy. He's a 1974 graduate of the University of Tennessee and a 1976 graduate of the UT program of orthodontics. He also served in the US Air Force as an orthodontist in Germany. That's awesome. I did not know that. He has filled multiple leadership roles in the Tennessee Dental Association, including 4 terms as trustee, 6 terms as Speaker of the House, and 4 years as editor of the TDA Journal. He has had numerous articles and editorials published, and he is the recipient of the TDA Fellowship Award and the Tennessee AGD Humanitarian Award. Dr. Carr and his wife support the ICD's motto, Serving Others. They have endowed scholarships for financially needy students at Bryan College, at Austin Peay State University, and the University of Tennessee College of Dentistry. Over the last 40 years, they have also made many dental mission trips to numerous countries, including Honduras, Brazil, Ghana, and Southeast China. Hopefully you can continue that once we're able to travel again. Dr. Carr has served as chair of the board of directors of the Good Samaritan Ministry, which provides free dental and medical care for the needy and underserved of Montgomery County, Tennessee. Dr. Carr retired from orthodontics in September 2018 after 44 years in practice, and he claims his biggest honor is the privilege of being married over 52 years to his childhood sweetheart, Sandra. Welcome, Dr. Carr.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So once again, if you have any questions or if you think of anything that you'd like for us to ask either my co-host or our special guest, please put them in the comment section of the video. And also, if you just want to say hello, that's awesome as well. And we're going to get right into it. Dr. Carr, take it away.
Dan, it's exciting to have you join us here tonight. Okay, congratulations on your new position as president of the American Dental Association. I'd also like to say how proud we are to have a fellow of the ICD in this prestigious leadership role. We also want to thank you for your congratulatory message to the 2020 class of ICD fellows. It was really appreciated, and I know it meant a great deal to each of them to hear from you. I also want to thank the entire ADA leadership for the tireless effort that has been made and continues to be made on behalf of the dental profession and our patients. Since the moment COVID was recognized, the ADA's research, advocacy, and media presence has been invaluable in dealing with this pandemic. On a personal note, although I retired several years ago before COVID erupted, I've watched my daughter, Emily, a young pediatric dentist, as she has struggled to care for her patients through this crisis. She has told me numerous times how grateful she is for the information and guidance she continuously receives from the ADA, as well as its component, the Tennessee Dental Association. I'm sure I speak for her and thousands of dentists nationwide when I say, once again, thank you. The ICD wishes you Godspeed in your new position as you continue to lead the ADA in this critical time and on this critical mission. Tonight, we hope this interview will give you an opportunity to share your ideas and aspirations with your fellow ICD fellows and others that may be watching. We also hope it will give us a chance to get to know you better personally. To that end, if you'll indulge me, I'd like to ask you to share with our viewers something you are zealous about outside of your role as an oral surgeon or as president of the ADA.
Well, I've had a lot of things that I've liked to do throughout my career. Before dental school, I liked to do wood carving, and that's probably what got me into dental school. I still play around with that every once in a while and find it relaxing. I've been an athlete, and for many years, I rode bicycles semi-competitively and rode halfway across Australia and Tasmania several times, having more fun than anything else. Recently, I haven't been doing that as much. I like playing around in my yard. Arizona has a lot of cactus and succulents. My next project is to build a greenhouse. I propagate half of this stuff that I have, and when I get frustrated with work or with politics, I dig holes in the ground and make things grow. And so that's kind of me in a nutshell. I'm also very proud of the fact that my wife and I both spent a lot of time doing philanthropy and stuff like that. We weren't blessed with children, but we were blessed with good careers, a reasonable income, and the ability to help others. And so I'm quite proud of my wife. She was just named the Philanthropist of the Year in Southern Arizona for all the numerous things she does. And so she drives me in directions that are probably much better than I would think of by myself. And we've been married 44 years. And so I'm very proud of that fact.
Well, you should be. And we thank you for sharing some of that. Biking across Australia and Tasmania must have been quite an event. I can barely get through my neighborhood here in Florida where my summer home is without getting out of breath. So congratulations. I'm sure our listeners appreciate hearing what you had to say to us in that regard. Now we'd like to all hear your thoughts on what it was like stepping into the role as ADA president during such a difficult time for our profession and indeed the whole world.
Well, clearly it's been interesting, and obviously you're stepping into the same role in a little different venue. I volunteered as a leader because I wanted to contribute. You know, that contribution wasn't predicated on being able to travel or stay at the Ritz-Carlton or having a lot of nice meals, but that's nice. My predecessor, Dr. Chad Gahani, kind of greased the skids, and he helped get us on the right path. I'm just trying to keep us on the right path, address the new issues that seem to come up on a daily basis, and try to figure out how do we get out of this smelling sweeter than we went in, and that's my goal.
Well, that's a lofty goal. And Rita, I know you have a question for.
I do, and that's really listening to all the other things that you like doing. I'm reminded that everyone has their own way of finding peace and has their own hobbies. And this last year, it's been really important to make sure that you had something to do go completely bananas. And I also don't know if I could make it around my neighborhood on a bike. So that's pretty awesome that you did such a distance. All of us are excited and encouraged that the COVID-19 vaccine is becoming available. We understand that each state has their own guidelines for distribution of the vaccine. Do you have a projected date when the vaccine will be made available to all US dentists and their staff members?
I don't think there's an exact date, and that's because there's so much diversity in how the individual states are addressing this. We were on a call today with Admiral Ricks and the CDC and the FDA and all of them. And even the CDC says we can't control what the states do. All we can do is keep pushing it out. We're trying as hard as we can to make sure that we can generate, and we do have support from the CDC to keep pushing the message that dentistry is essential, and dentists, their assistants, their hygienists are essential healthcare staff, and they should be considered in Group 1A. Every state has a little different numbering system. There's 1As, 1Bs, 1Cs, Group 3, Tier 2, 1.9. And so it's really kind of a funny situation. As I watch the news and I watch Facebook and other things, I see that in most of the states, we're getting to the point where dentists are starting to get their chance at the vaccine. And I certainly encourage them to do so. Dentists who are giving vaccines in the states that have gone that direction are probably going to push their own members up the line a little bit, and so that may be helpful as well.
Yeah, I know that we've got some colleagues in some states. I think Maine recently, dentists in Maine were just recently able to get the vaccine, and in Massachusetts as well. I know that they were kind of trying to figure that out, but it seems like they've allowed dentists to give the vaccine, so that's a good step in the right direction. Dr. Carr?
Well, that was going to be my next question, and was whether or not you, because these questions were written some short time ago, but did you envision that dentists would be a source for administering the vaccine to patients? Well, I think we've answered that tonight, and I'm sure it's not happening everywhere, but do you envision that that will be a major source of the vaccine to the general public?
I'm not sure how major it will be, but we will certainly do our part. There's a couple different areas, and there's a number of states. California just recently, their governor signed an executive statement that expanded their scope so that they could give vaccinations during this period. Oregon is doing it, and there's some other states as well. There are other groups actually that are trying to get collaboration between a number of different healthcare people to potentially partake in big events, kind of like moms for vaccines, so that we can get it out there. Right now, it's a little bit more difficult because I think we're still learning the ropes. And for those of us who've gotten a vaccine, it's not a difficult process. But if you go behind the scenes and you look at all the paperwork that has to get filled out and sent into all the regulatory agencies, you might think that's a little mind-boggling. The first two vaccines are a little bit more difficult than the vaccines that are yet to come because of refrigeration requirements, but it won't be long before Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca, and there's one other vaccine that will come out. And these will probably be vaccines that don't require refrigeration and will be much easier to handle. When that happens, certainly dentists should be able to do it. I would encourage them to do it. The more widespread we enable vaccination, the sooner we get to that critical mass, where potentially we can have herd immunity that would allow us to kind of resume something a little bit more normal. It's a little bit frightening when the experts say that if we give 1.1 million doses a day, it still is going to be 6 months before we get to that point. 1.8 million a day gets us to about May 31st. And so it's a long slog no matter what. The important thing for us in dentistry is to, one, make sure vaccines are available for dentists and their staff and their families, to be honest. Secondly, it's important that they get the vaccination into their arms. And the third thing that's critically important for our profession is that we make sure that when we talk to our patients, we let them know how important it is that they get the vaccination and how safe it truly is. Because if people don't get vaccinations, we will never get to that point where we can be safe again.
Yeah. And I
May
think those numbers are so
Can I piggyback on that just a moment? When you were talking to these people that are sort of in the hierarchy of the distribution of the vaccine, are they seeing a significant amount of pushback, or are the majority of people that taking it when it's made available?
I think there is significant pushback. It varies in portions of the country and also racially. You know, Black Americans have had some bad experience with medicine in the past, you know, Tuskegee and some other issues, and you cannot blame individuals from being concerned about this. And so it's one of those things we have to address it honestly and appropriately because you know, we're all human beings. We all want to be safe. We all want to protect ourselves and our communities. There are even healthcare workers that are a little bit reluctant. However, it's been shown pretty clearly that if healthcare workers are given good, honest evidence and scientific basis for doing this by people who've done it themselves and have some credibility, the hesitancy goes down dramatically.
Thank you.
definitely. And I'm really glad you said that. The number of dentists that I've seen that are willing to help spread that awareness and kind of attract attention to this has been really staggering. It seems like everyone kind of took that call and took it to heart and are doing their parts all over the country. I see so many articles that ADA member dentists are quoted in. I see so many volunteer leaders that are, on local news channels, on state news channels. So it's definitely a push in the right direction. I love that we're all trying to come together for this. That's so important. And that starts at the top. So thank you. My question is, how has the pandemic affected you personally and the dental community in Arizona?
We are back. Arizona is pretty resilient. We paused for about 6 weeks, but we came back actually very strong. I think the vast majority of us are like Marco and HPI says 80 to 90% back to normal. I think some people are more busy than they want to be. We had a good relationship with our governor and with our legislature, and we were able to make the changes that were necessary to make sure that we were essential and come back. Personally, I paused my office. We continued to see emergency patients. We keep people out of the hospital. I took the opportunity to make some physical changes in my office. We did everything we could do relative to PPE and process, and took all the wonderful furniture out of my wonderful waiting room. And we made those changes, but amazingly enough, we've gotten through it, and it almost is a new normal. Personally, I was able to really clean up my yard during March and April, and it was a bit of a mess. I worked so hard, I lost some weight. I had great fun doing that. I read a couple books, and I prepared for all this whole year. Now I'm getting a little bit tired of it. I think we all are. The ADA board functions well in a business manner, but in a social manner. And any of us who've ever been on committees or councils or major groups understand that the social interaction and sometimes the discourse that goes on over dinner or over a cocktail is as important or more important than what happens around the table. And we all miss that. We can't read each other's eyes as well. And so as a board, at times we need to kind of recalibrate, make sure we're all on the same page, kind of support each other so that we can get through this. We're actually planning, we have a virtual happy hour on Friday because we really haven't seen each other personally since last February. And so just like everybody else, we have COVID fatigue and we want to get back out into the real world.
Definitely. And the Zoom fatigue is real. I feel like I've acquired glasses and all this from squinting at computer screens, but we've been doing the best that we can. Before we kind of jump to the next questions, I want to acknowledge some of the people that are on with us. I see Julio and Karen Foster. Dave Freed says hello. Christine Benoit. Ned Murphy from the Wisconsin Dental Association. I've got a couple congratulations for Adeline from Karen and from Ken McDougall and Rosemary. Hope Watson says hello. Mark Motes from Kentucky. Bill Hurt from Rochester. Caesar. Sergio Favela from Mexico. And Shumik from North Carolina. And Julio is saying congratulations to your wife as well. So lots of people saying hello. Dr. Carr?
That's special. And the last statement you made, Dan, we've talked about that so much at the ICD executive committee meetings that we just miss each other. We miss talking to each other, having those dinners where we expand our conversation and get to know each other. And that brings such consensus to the table, and we're missing that right now. And it's a perfect segue into my next question. And that was, it was quite a challenge for the ICD to transition to a virtual convocation this year. I can only imagine what it was like to switch the ADA's annual session from a live on-site meeting to a virtual event format. Can you tell us about that experience? What surprised you the most about that experience? And were there any positive surprises or outcomes?
Well, I think the meeting's kind of two meetings. It's the business portion of it, which is what I concentrate on most, and it's the education portion. Obviously, it's easy to put education on a virtual platform, but the interaction again with the lecturer is diminished. I think it went well. The business portion in the House of Delegates and the caucuses, I thought went much better than to be honest, I anticipated. Our surveys show that most of the delegates thought it worked well, but would still like to get back together. Personally, I thought there are some people that benefit from debating in person, and then there are individuals who, because they might be a little shy or feel awkward or not have confidence, are much more likely to comment into a iPad or a computer screen. And so some of the comments I heard and some of the debate I heard about resolutions, I thought was really quite good. And I was impressed. And so it's something that we know we can do. I'm not sure we want to do it again, because it's the business and the collaboration and the camaraderie and the relationship building that you get outside of the business meeting that is as important as what you do in the meeting.
Amen. I mean, we feel the same way, and I miss that. And quite frankly, I don't think I would be a happy leader if I had to continue with virtual meetings ad infinitum. I would also ask you, did you find though that the business of the organization was going forward pretty good because people could meet even without scheduled person-to-person meetings? They could meet virtually and get some business done that they might not have otherwise accomplished if they had just waited for an in-person meeting.
I personally think that the business that we do is in some respect been enhanced by the fact that we've had this issue. When people or organizations are under a little bit of stress, you're much more likely to respond to that stress in an effort to solve that problem. And you're also much more likely to look at innovative ways to solve problems outside of the norm. You know, teledentistry is the greatest example, and in our clinical dentistry is we all know that it certainly is a viable way to interact with patients, and so much of what we do with patients is communication. Physical exam certainly is part of it, but the things that will enable us to do in those appropriate circumstances is something that was pretty much born out of this crisis. In medicine, the use of teledentistry escalated about 1,000%. Hasn't been that much in dentistry because we do so many physical things, but it certainly has provided incentive and innovation. The innovation that we have seen relative to materials makers and people who produce PPE and people who produce other things that are important for dentists has also escalated dramatically. And it will help us in the long run, even once this is over.
Thank you. I agree. That was sort of been our experience on a smaller scale than you deal with on a day-to-day basis. And Rita?
Yeah, and I was a guest on the ADA, the virtual ADA house, and Mark Donald crushed it. He did a great job given what he had to deal with, and not being able to always see who was at the pro and who was at the con, and who's speaking at reference committee and where's people going, and whoever was helping him on the ADA side of things did a great job. But I know that was definitely not a small undertaking. So very appreciative. But as you said, you lose a lot of that, I'll meet you after the meeting at the bar to talk, camaraderie, which is, something that we all love so much that we kind of, you lose it a little bit after dental school. And then we look for that sense of community and we find it in organized dentistry. And now we're all stuck behind a screen. So I know a lot of people are eager to get back to in-person meetings. But you did say something interesting that I want to touch on. People that might be a little bit shy to speak in front of a room of, what is it, 800-900 of us that are there. It's very daunting. I can have a conversation with a wall. I can talk to anyone or anything at any time, and I get nervous getting up and find myself stumbling. And what I really hope from having everything virtual and making things in that sense a little bit more accessible is that we've given a voice to a whole cohort of people that couldn't take the time off, that have a newborn, that are acquiring a practice, that are moving across the country because their spouse has, has been stationed at a base and doesn't know anyone around, and they need to be home and to take care of things, but they're also trying to work and they're also trying to give back to to their profession. And it's a lot easier to jump on a Zoom and be on a committee or a council than it is to take 4 or 5 or 12 weekends off and go to Chicago. So I'm really hoping that this honestly is a membership draw as well. Hey, you know what? We've made it easier for you to have a voice, and we value that voice. So I do hope that we don't lose that and that carries forward. Can you tell us a little bit about the day-to-day operations in Chicago of the ADA headquarters and how it's changed and what it's like now? I'm pretty sure they're all remotely working.
Well, yeah, it's still pretty much remote. The last time I was in Chicago was in February. It's interesting to know that, as you probably do know, on the 22nd floor, they give the president and the president-elect this beautiful office. I had a corner office. I could sit in the desk and look out and see the magnificent Mile, and it was beautiful. I haven't been there since February, and so I miss it. But when this thing happened and the ADA shut down, they went from in-person to literally virtual phenomenally quickly. They had to help people with computers and IT connections and internet and all that sort of stuff. But the amount of work that has been done, like you said, has increased. The amount of work that was done has just been absolutely phenomenal. The output of information, the changes in the website, the changes in the FAQs, the committee work, the interaction, and it's all been done virtually. And the vast majority of people are still working virtually, although the building is open, but they have special access, all sorts of screening and things like that. There have been no meetings or CE in the building since March, and we still don't have any scheduled, I don't believe, out through the end of this March. We look at it on a monthly basis. The Board of Trustees has their next meeting in February, and that's virtual. The next meeting after that will be April. I'm not sure where we'll be then, but my guess is I would assume probably still virtual. But it's amazing what you can do in a virtual format. Now, that always raises the question, do we really need to have a big building on Chicago Avenue? And the big hospital next door would love to eat us up. But it gives, again, more opportunity because you have to try things when you are in a unique situation, and some of them work and show us all a better way to get the same things done.
Yeah, and I communicate a lot with Susie Galvan and the team for diversity and inclusion because I'm part of the IDL class, and of course Tara Lavick on all things new dentist because I'm the new dentist on CDBP, and they are doing a phenomenal job. It's like they might as well be in the building. They've just picked up right where they left off and kind of taken off running. So we're all very appreciative, definitely, of their ability to adapt so quickly. Dr.
Well, I
Carr?
think now, Dan, I'd like to give you an opportunity to just share some of the goals you would especially like to see achieved at the ADA during your term as president. And you just have the floor without any specific question attached to that.
Well, interestingly enough, I am a kind of a collaborative type of guy. I had the ability to serve as the chair of the new strategic plan, Common Ground 2025. And it's a 5-year strategic plan. So we developed some things that we wanted to do relative to capacity and membership and finance, and we added a new public goal. And so all of those are things, but it's a 5-year plan. And it's one of those situations where it's difficult for a leader to come in 1 year, do things, complete things, and then move on. And so it's always been my style, even when I was involved in the Arizona Dental Association, I always worked very closely with the person following me up or those around me. I said, hey, this is a group effort. And so for this year, to be real honest, high on my list is working on some of the things Dr. Gahani started. And certainly the digital transformation is probably the most important thing. And we have to move forward because as we talk tonight in a virtual format through digital means, the ADA has to get to the point where we are not 2 or 3 years behind technology, but we're up with technology and we're committed to spending the money we need to keep doing that. And that's absolutely critical. Other issues that were started before me, the registry is going to allow us to obtain data. Big data is what allows Google and Amazon and Facebook and all these other big industries to know about others and know about us. The more we know about dentistry and how we treat patients and outcomes and costs and efforts, the easier it is for us to negotiate and demand of third-party payers or the government what really we need. Only we know what it costs to do our business. Only we know how we need to do it for the protection of our patients. But we don't have the data to support that. Third-party payers have much more data about us than we have about our own selves or our patients or our procedures or our outcomes. And so that's something that's absolutely critical. We started a patient safety effort. 2 years ago, there was a resolution passed to develop a culture of safety in dentistry. Now, that scares some people because it's kind of like, oh, Big Brother's going to come down on me and cause problems. But in reality, this happened in medicine 20 years ago. And it's tiny little things, okay? It's making sure you write the right prescription. You don't give somebody an antibiotic they're allergic to, that you make sure you got the right teeth on your consent forms. You don't take out the right tooth. You make sure you look at the medical history. There's bigger things as well. And so we're trying to slowly make that change because we don't want people to assume that I do everything perfectly. I know I don't do everything perfectly. I have been helped by some of these things. We have a mini surgery center, and so everybody comes in, gets a bracelet, so we know who the patients are. We label everything. We do lots of things, and I think it's critical that we continue on with that task. Believe it or not, CAP, our Council on Access, Advocacy and Access and Prevention, wants to do everything they can do to improve the Medicaid environment because it's so hit or miss, but it serves such a critical population. And we were speaking today with some other advocacy groups about joining with that. There are just thousands of things that we just keep doing, and it's a long process. And so I'm just trying to take my little role and keep the ball going down the hill. Obviously, COVID is still number one. We have to keep our organization together. We have to keep our membership vibrant. We have to keep the value that we provide up in front so everybody understands it, so that at the end we still have that corpus of members that allows us to do what we need to do.
Thank you. I know Marita asked a question that's really dear to her heart, so she'll have the closing question for us now.
So, as you know, new dentists are my passion and where I spend a lot of time doing my work in organized dentistry. So to that end, I'm going to ask a two-part question. Are there any words of wisdom you'd like to share with new graduates coming out into the dental world? And Ned Murphy asked, how do you see us connecting with new members in the digital world?
Oh, wow. So first one is, do I have any words of wisdom?
Yes.
I guess my word of wisdom would be grateful you're in a great profession, okay? Recognize the fact that you are granted by society special privileges that most professions don't have. We have the ability to self-regulate. We're educated probably more than most of our of many other colleagues, okay? And we have the ability to take care of people and make a big difference in their lives. Along with that, we also have a social contract that society imposes on us that we should be very happy to accept. And that means for those privileges, we should make sure that we take care of the people we need to take care of. And for the most part, we've always done that, but we can't forget that. If you take care of patients, they will take care of you. And that is always true. And so when we worry about all the things that stress us, like PPOs and PPE costs and all these other things, just remember when that patient comes in and that patient needs care, you take care of them, you'll have a friend for life. And it will benefit you greatly. And so that's probably the most important thing I can say. I would do it over again in a heartbeat. The second part was, how do we connect? All right.
With members in the digital world.
Well, there's an interesting book I would encourage everybody to read. It's called From Gutenberg to Google, The History of Our Future. Written by a man called Thomas Wheeler, named Thomas Wheeler. He was the past chairman of the Federal Communications Commission. Phenomenal book. It kind of tells you the story of communication in history from the time of Gutenberg to now. And when you get to the end, you realize what the internet has done. Gutenberg's press took education out of the Catholic Church and enabled everybody to be educated. That spread knowledge. The telegraph and the railroad totally transformed things in the 1800s by allowing transportation of knowledge across great distances rapidly and transportation of materials. That's why Chicago became the big hubbub that it is, because they agreed to have trains. Had St. Louis done it, St. Louis would have been bigger than Chicago. But now, and that was the hub and spoke, everybody would go there. Organizations were central and everybody went to them. Well, now we have this thing called the internet. Everybody can be their own little hub. And I can interact with Dr. Patel, I can interact with Dr. Carr, my patients can interact with each other and get knowledge outside of us, and they come to us pre-prepared. They know as much as we do about many things. And so we need to learn to recognize the fact that I can't require new dentists to be in an organization the same way I was. I have to engage them differently and allow them to solve problems in a different environment. And we also need to do that inclusively. In other words, I need your knowledge and I want you to partake. This year, you're on the new dentist committee, correct? We have, so Daniel Hall, who's the chair of the new dentist committee, always has a seat at the board. Well, from my perspective this year, he is a board member. He comes to everything, he gets everything. I'm including him as if anybody else. And so we need that knowledge because you have a 25 or 30 year time horizon. My time horizon is 4 to 5 years at the best. And so when I'm sitting on a board, even though I know I need to make decisions for the younger people that I represent, I don't know that as well as the younger person sitting right next to me. And so we have to keep them actively involved and engaged, because the only way you can make changes is if you're sitting at the table pushing that change.
And that's so true. And that kind of collaborative effort, and like you touched on, being inclusive and leaning on the knowledge of each other, and that everyone has something to bring to the table, is just so important. Do you have any last closing remarks for us?
No, this has been an absolute pleasure. This year is unusual, but with challenge comes opportunity. And I hope to do as much as I can in the short time I'll be here.
Awesome. And I wanted to acknowledge a couple more people from your board that are here. Linda Himmelberger says, congratulations to Adeline. Thank you both for your leadership by example. And George Shepley is here. I guess he got on after AdPac. So he said, so good to see everyone here. And we've got lots of other comments and questions. So we will definitely try to answer those after we are done. James Lee, who represents District 1 on the ADA New Dentist Committee, says, so encouraging and powerful to hear. Thank you so much for your leadership. So got lots of people cheering you on and wanting to work together to power through this. Again, I want to thank you, and I know Dr. Carr is going to thank you after me. You're an inspiration and a great resource, and I want everyone that's listening to know that Dr. Klemmedson probably gets tons of emails and messages, and probably is on all hours of the night answering them, it seems, but is very accessible. And anytime I've ever needed anything or had a question, he has been right there to respond, and we are multiple time zones apart. So thank you for that. Dr. Carr, any last words?
I'll just say thank you, Dan, because our time's at an end, but thank you so much for being with us. And it's got so good to get to know you. And
My pleasure.
I'm just so aligned with so many of the things you said tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So again, thank you to my co-host, Dr. Carr, and to Dr. Klemmedson, our ADA president, for being on with me. I'm going to talk a little bit about our upcoming programming now. Join us next Wednesday, which is January 20th at 8 o'clock, of course. We're going to be checking in to find out more about T. Bob Davis, who is the 2020 ICD Distinguished Humanitarian, and of course, our amazing convocation pianist for the past 6 years. And then our next live 45 is going to be on February 3rd, also at 8 o'clock Eastern. We're going to be meeting with Dr. John Osborne, who's the dental director for the remote area medical program. And our co-host that evening is going to be our president-elect out of Texas, Dr. Risa Martin. And then we have another very special guest in February. February 17th at 8 is going to be Dr. Kathy O'Loughlin, the executive director of the ADA. And again, that's going to be on the 17th. Look out for future dates and guests in our upcoming key mails, and of course, posted on our events list located under the events tab at the top of the screen if you log on to icdusa.org. And of course, on our Facebook page. We all do share this information on our personal social media platforms, so you can also check it out there. This interview, like all others, will be archived on the International College of Dentists USA section page. So if you are tuning in and this is not live anymore, it is there. And again, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to continue posting those in the comments on this video, and we will make sure we get as many as we can over to Dr. Klemmedson. I want to wish everyone an amazing night and the best wishes for a positive 2021. Thank you all.